Thanks for joining. This webinar is actually the second in a series of 3 that's delivering practical strategies for finding work, investing in the right credentials, and negotiating your worth in the solar trades. We hope it will help you gain some new perspective from seasoned professionals and tradeswomen who will be providing honest advice, proven tactics, and encouragement. Um, the final webinar is actually going to be on May 20th, so you can register for that one as well. We have some information on our website, solarforwomen.com, if you want to check that out in the blog. And we're going to be recording each of these, so we'll make those available on our website afterwards. And Britt Heller, who's one of our presenters tonight, has been kind enough to also put them on HeatSpring as a free class that you can access afterwards. So it's another place that you'll be able to get to this later or share with people if you found it useful and want others to check it out. We probably will have a transcript of the chat just so people know. And yeah, hopefully it's an enjoyable experience for you all, and we really would like to hear your feedback. So my name is Riley Neugebauer. I'm the founder of Solar for Women, which is the host of this webinar series. I'll be facilitating tonight. I'm a solar technical trainer for Unirac, which is a solar racking manufacturer that's headquartered in Albuquerque. I'm based in Boulder. I was previously an installer and a solar electrician with Namaste Solar here in Boulder as well. I'm both NABCEP certified and hold my residential electrical license in Colorado. So this particular topic is very relevant to my journey and feels really important to talk about and to share with as many people as we can so that people understand what pathways are out there. Solar for Women, for those that aren't familiar with the organization, is a nonprofit based in Colorado and building a national network in support of solar tradeswomen. We're focused on empowering women in their solar energy careers with an emphasis on solar tradeswomen and technicians. In addition to community building, we also operate with a change model that's focused on communicating about and celebrating women in the solar trade, conducting research, providing trainings, and carrying out advocacy work for gender equity. If you'd like to learn more about us or donate, I haven't been advancing my slides very well. I just realized. There's me as an installer. And a little more about Solar for Women here and some QR codes if you need them. So all the accounts there that you can follow if you're interested to follow us on social media. And then we have a newsletter that you can sign up for on our website as well. And I think Natalie will post some things in the chat if you want to click on those. And we're really a startup. We're all volunteer. And so just started raising a little bit of money. So if you are willing to donate, it would really help us out and spread the word. So we all know that the solar industry right now is kind of in a weird place, and it is referred to as the solar coaster, as many of us know. And I would say this year definitely doesn't seem to be any different there. So given the current market realities, we know it can be a pretty tough job market. And we hope that this is going to give you more concrete advice and perspective about some of the ways you can best prepare yourself to determine the skills, certifications, or licensure paths that you may or may not want to pursue. And to help us provide that perspective, we've invited 3 really amazing, talented professionals to share their experiences and tips with us. And they'll each also share a little bit more about themselves when they present. But I want to start off with a few bios for each of them. So Amanda Bybee is going to go first, and she's worked in the solar industry since 2003. Over the course of her career, she's helped launch several cooperatives: employee-owned cooperative Namaste Solar, purchasing cooperative Amicus Solar, financial cooperative Clean Energy Credit Union, and shared services cooperative Amicus O&M Co-op, where she has served as CEO since 2017. In recent years, she has contributed time and energy to several passion projects, including a Women's Speakers Bureau with RISE, an informational website on how to recycle solar equipment at www.solarrecycle.org, and an industry coalition on diversity, equity, and inclusion called Renewables Forward. In 2024, Amicus O&M Cooperative was awarded a $1.5 million 3-year grant to address standardization, training, credentialing, and workforce development for solar PV O&M technicians, which she'll tell us more about. Jenny Conradi is a journeyman electrician based in Plymouth, Wisconsin. She completed a 4-year apprenticeship program and also obtained her NABCEP PVIP. She entered the trades after a long career in a sustainable agriculture and natural food space. She needed to make a professional shift after becoming a single mom, and the idea of renewable energy seemed like a natural next step in the realm of sustainability. Brittany Heller has been in the solar industry in a variety of roles since January 2015, starting her solar career in residential sales in New Orleans. She then moved to Denver, where she completed a construction fellowship with Grid Alternatives Colorado, building a wide portfolio of solar projects, all benefiting income qualified families. In 2018, she began her role as workforce and community engagement manager at Grid Colorado, where Brittany led training efforts and worked with her team to secure funding to make all job training programs pay participants a living wage, increasing equitable access into the high quality jobs in the solar industry. Today, she works at HeatSpring, where she helps to create and promote quality technical training to address our changing climate. Brittany holds her NABCEP PV installation professional certification as well. When she isn't talking about solar, she can be found growing food, building soil, and spending time with her animals on her budding 17-acre regenerative farm just outside of Atlanta, Georgia. So, really excited to have all of them. A lot of gratitude for them to agree to be here tonight and share their perspective with us, which is really valuable. So, Amanda will get us started, but before we jump in, I'm going to ask a couple more polls just to check in. So, which of these best represents you in your career path right now, just to help give us a sense of who's here with us today? Good, good spread there as well. So, we got a lot of workforce development folks on the call today. Thanks for joining. And some good mid career, few entry level, and exploring our options. Okay, pretty good. That's most people I think that answered. Great. Yeah. Thank you for that. We can wrap that one up. Yeah, okay. But I like to see so many mid-career folks, and it'll be interesting to hear more from you later about some of you or post in the chat now, sort of why you're pursuing some changes or why some of the trades pieces might be appealing to you. All right. And then next up, we're going to ask a couple questions in a row here that are very similar. So the first one is, what current certifications or licensure do you already hold, if any of these? A little bit of a long list. We're curious to see where that lands with the audience today, and then we'll do a follow-up question on the ones that you would like to pursue. Got some forklift operators out there, a lot of SEI students, some heat spraying, some OSHA folks, CPR, the electrician, a lot of NABCEP. This is great. So we have a well-qualified group, it looks like, on the call today. All right, I think we can, yeah, end that one. A lot of first aid. I think that was the one with the most responses. So if anyone is anywhere, they want to be around this group if possible, if something goes wrong. All right, we'll do one more. And this is the kind of aspirational certifications or licensures that you would like to have. A lot of project management aspirations here. Electrical licensure, it's a good one. A lot of heat spring. And if people have more specific things they want to say about some of these that they're interested in pursuing, or more detail on like which heat spring course you're most interested in, et cetera, it'd be interesting to hear that in the chat. Great. Love it. Lots of folks interested in technical pursuits here. So thanks for sharing that with us. And the poll share results. Favor of Sophie, maybe if you can, Abby, I don't know if you're willing to just pop in quickly as kind of a special guest for us tonight and just say who you are and why you're excited about this. That would be a great thing to hear right before we launch into Amanda's first presentation. But I need someone to help unmute you so that you could do that.
I can help.
Nick.
Abby, you're unmuted.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Abby Hopper. I am coming to you from right outside of Washington, D.C. I right now am chilling, but before that, for the last 9 years, I was the president and CEO of the Solar Energy Industries Association. So hopefully I represented your interests in Washington and in state capitals around the country. But I am super excited to hear what you have to say. Amanda has been a great friend for all these many years. And anyway, I'm just always looking for ways to support women in solar. And now that I have a tiny bit more time, I can be present with you. So thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate it.
Of course.
All right. And with that, Amanda, I'm going to turn it over to you to go ahead with your presentation.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Riley. And it's good to see everybody here tonight. Looking over the participant list, I see a lot of friends and friendly names. So glad to see y'all and appreciate the conversation that we're going to have, because I think this group is pretty well versed in a lot of the topics we're going to touch on. So if you'll flip on over to the next slide there, Riley. So Riley read my bio, which is like spoiler alert. I'm real into cooperatives and have helped start a bunch of those. Funny enough, I didn't always define myself as an entrepreneur. It wasn't until like my 6th startup that I was like, oh, I guess I could claim that title. Because for me, none of the companies that I've helped start in my career were my original idea, but I was there doing all the work to make them happen. So now I'll claim entrepreneur. But the other thing that I am not a licensed electrician. I am not a tradeswoman, but I worked in college as a line cook at a 24-hour diner in Austin, Texas, where I thought I was pretty tough, working with all the guys late night. And I'm a woodworker, and I love to get out and use my hands and build beautiful things. So those are a few tidbits about me that are maybe more interesting than the bio. Next up, Riley. I am the CEO of Amicus O&M Cooperative. So we focus on all things that are post-construction, which to me falls within the range of what O&M covers. The cooperative is a support network for companies that are actually out there doing the field services. Today, we have 56 member companies, and we work on systems of all sizes and scales. And I see several of our member companies are here tonight, so it's always fun to see y'all out there. One thing that Riley mentioned, we did receive a grant in 2024 to address workforce interests for solar O&M techs. And as part of that grant, we worked closely with SEIA to develop the SEIA 301 ANSI standard, which is our first attempt as an industry to define a 4-level technician framework. So Tech 1 being entry level all the way up to a really advanced Tech 4. And we are also developing a training program that corresponds to that standard. And we're about to launch Tech 2 in the next few weeks. But this is something that I'm really passionate about because I see this as a very tangible way to help people continue learning how to be safe and efficient at performing O&M services. So that'll be a theme that you hear from me is safety and efficiency. Next up, Riley. One of my roles here tonight is to help us distinguish some terms that are sort of nuanced and that oftentimes get mushed into a big ball altogether. So what Amicus O&M Cooperative is building and what you can find on HeatSpring, for example, are training programs. And training programs can be developed by lots of different types of entities, from nonprofit groups to for-profit companies to trade schools. And training programs are often designed to deliver knowledge quickly and efficiently so that a person can get out there and start doing their work. At least that's the perspective of Amicus O&M Cooperative, and a lot of our employers' interest is in helping people get out there quickly doing their jobs. Training programs often result in a certificate of completion. And what that certificate merely says is that this person finished the program. It's not usually trying to assess their competencies or what they necessarily know. I mean, there are assessments along the way that try to assess that, but a certificate means a person completed a program. Contrast that with an apprenticeship, which is a regulated program either by a state or federal office of apprenticeship that has very stringent classroom hours and field training hours that results in licensure. Doesn't always result in licensure because there's always an exception to the rule, but I think all of us are pretty familiar with the electrical apprenticeship and an electrical license. And then there are certification bodies. And in solar, we're all pretty familiar with NABCEP. NABCEP is a third party that does not deliver training, who does attempt to assess a person's knowledge and experience by requiring submissions of what your background is and proof that you've taken these courses. So a certificate is different from a certification, and a training program is different from an apprenticeship, but they all have their place. So next up, Riley. In my opinion, if I was going to start my career over today and contemplate what role to take, I would want to ensure that I was going after the highest value of these, which I think is an electrical license. This is the direction that I see the industry going. You know, we know that a lot of states require electrical licensure for solar professionals to be touching solar panels and interconnection. We know that having that kind of credential is going to earn you the most money out in the marketplace because it's rarer, and a lot of states have, ratio requirements of licenses to apprentices. So there's a real need for more licensed electricians in our country. Even if you don't choose to go the licensure route, safety certifications, I think, are table stakes for working in any kind of technical role. OSHA 10 or OSHA 30, NFPA 70E, these are expected of all professionals. But then NABCEP certification or third-party certifications are still really valuable, even without or in addition to your license. I was talking to a gentleman from the union side of the world, and we were talking about where solar fit with regards to an electrical license. And his perspective was that many types of technologies require secondary certification. You may have your license, but if you want to work on elevators, you need a special certificate to go do that. So NABCEP certification is a really nice complement to a license that helps fill in gaps that you might have had just from going through your standard electrical licensure program. Next, Riley. And then why I think this is still so exciting and still so worth it. And of course, I do have a strong bias towards operations and maintenance work, but every solar PV system and battery system that we install year over year will need maintenance at some point in time. We have installed hundreds of gigawatts at this point. That means lots of job security over the next 25 years, because every system we install just means more work for the O&M group. By nature, it's variable and interesting. You're not doing the same thing over and over again every day. These are good paying jobs. And something I think about a lot, because I have a high school and middle school kid in my home, is how do we find careers that are AI proof? There's a lot of buzz and chatter and fear about how much AI is going to affect those of us in office jobs, but it's really hard to replace an O&M technician with a robot. So I think there's a lot of promise here for the future. And then lastly, for me, I am buoyed every day, every time I read about some crazy weather event going on around the country or around the world, that the work I do is a tangible way to try to address the climate crisis. And I think we all want meaning in the way that we spend our hours. So I am excited to support, and I love Solar for Women's emphasis on tradeswomen, because I think that there is still such a huge need with so few women in those roles. We're missing out as a planet on having almost 50% of the population out there supporting these systems. So if you are interested in talking about joining the integrity department of the solar industry, i.e. O&M, please always feel free to reach out to me.
Thanks so much, Amanda. That was amazing. Always great to hear perspective from women who've been in the industry a long time and have sort of seen the operation side in a lot of different ways. So I found that very helpful, and hopefully others did too. And again, you can post questions you might have for Amanda in the chat, and we'll try to get to some of those later, and we'll track those. So don't worry that we don't have a lot of time after each individual presentation, but we'll get to some questions later. But with that, I'm going to ask Jenny to jump on and be our next presenter and talk from the standpoint of someone who has really gone through the steps to become an electrician and NABCEP certified in solar.
Yeah, thank you, Riley, and thank you, Amanda. So I am Jenny Conradi. I've been in the solar industry and electrical industry for 6.5 years. I did complete the apprenticeship program and have been a journeyman for about 2 years now. I am NABCEP PVIP certified, have my drone pilot's license, OSHA 10, OSHA 30, CPR. I'm sort of fully vetted all of these licenses and certifications, because I did do the formal training program for that, the apprenticeship program. Um, and I do feel like going through the apprenticeship program and getting that field experience and getting my NABCEP PVIP, it has opened a lot of doors for me. I've been able to sort of um, have like a wide variety of experiences in the solar world. And it's partly from, putting the work in on the front end and being able to complete these courses and classes and really gain a lot of knowledge. Do you want to go to the next slide, Riley? So I was an electrical apprentice at Current Electric in Milwaukee. And I worked under a journeyman there, Donnie, and Donnie was, he was great. He taught me so much about solar and electrical. It took me a couple tries to get to a journeyman that, was a good fit for me, that was helpful and compatible and had the patience to work with me, and made me feel comfortable while we were working together. And it was a rocky road to arrive at that point. But once I got there, I was so thankful, and it really helped me fly. I'm not gonna lie that being a woman in the trades is not always easy. It's not always a straight line path, and it requires a lot of resilience. Um, but it it really can be rewarding too if you can sort of persevere and know your rights and have good people standing behind you. And I was lucky enough to kind of make good connections like that along the way. So most of my apprenticeship was done at Current Electric, but I also worked at Arch Electric too. So I started at Arch, moved over to Current because I did feel like I was hitting sort of a ceiling at Arch in their commercial business unit. And so I wasn't getting the kind of like AC experience that I needed. I was sort of relegated just to DC. And during my apprenticeship program, I think we're kind of talking, Amanda was sort of hitting on that a little bit, that in the apprenticeship program, you're learning about regular electrical. Like they're not teaching you solar electric at all. Very little, they gloss over it. And so that's why being, sort of a solar electrician, it's helpful to supplement the apprenticeship by getting your NABCEP associate certificate or the board certifications, because it gives you a really great benchmark for solar specific knowledge. But on the other end of that, I was at a solar only company trying to complete this electrical apprenticeship, and like only on DC, and so I barely knew what a neutral wire was. And so I moved over to Current Electric because they did solar and other electrical also. So I got experience in new construction, a little bit with generators. So it was just like a wider variety of experience. Because, they both solar and regular electrical, they fall under the umbrella of jobs performed by an electrician, but they have so many differences. And I think it's very important to recognize that, and to recognize that solar is a niche form of electrical. And so to really perform well, you might need to supplement some of the programs that are offered to make sure that your knowledge is specific enough. Okay, and maybe next slide, Riley. Yeah, so then after Current Electric, I was invited back to Arch Solar. And that was due in large part to them seeing that I had gotten my PVIP. So I had completed my PVIP certification, and Arch called me up and said, "Hey, we saw that you just got this certificate. Congratulations. Would you like to come back? We have an opportunity for you." And it was like a really nice next step in my career, um, because it was going to be allowing me to lead a team and to do AC work instead of the DC work on the residential side. And by that point, I I went to Current, I did the regular electrical, and discovered that, you know what? Actually, I do like solar and I like it much better. And so I was happy to rejoin with Arch because then I knew I would be doing solar specifically, and that was kind of where my heart was at. Um so then I completed my apprenticeship, the last remaining like few months or a year of my apprenticeship while back at Arch. Took my test the August after I graduated and passed it, and then became a residential foreman. Next slide. I did the 4-year program. In the middle slide, that's my graduating class. So cute. We started with 23 people and we ended with 9 graduates. Because guess what? School is not easy. I think I went to a 4-year university to UW-Madison, 20 years ago, so a long time ago, and, I kinda, like, had this I'll admit, I had kind of like a bias. I thought that or like a preconceived notion. I thought that technical college would be easier than a university degree, and really, it's challenging in just, like, such a completely different way that you can hardly even compare them. But I think, it's a testament to that challenge that we started with 23 students and ended with 9. A majority of them peeled off in the first year, but every year we would lose more and more. Um because not only is it challenging in the classroom, and challenging in terms of like the math that's needed or sort of like, you know, understanding the invisible because electricity is sort of mystical and strange like that. But also like the demands in the field are a lot. And that's part of that program. Like you need 8,400 hours logged to graduate this technical college program, and 8,000, something like 8,000 of those hours are done in the field, like not in the classroom. So you need to be present in the field working hard that whole time, and that's a major component of it. And it's not for the faint of heart. So by the end of our 4 years together, my classmates and I became like good buds. We were like good friends, and we still keep in contact. And I still consider them part of my electrical network. So it worked out pretty great. On the right is my graduation ceremony. No one at my company had ever wanted to do the graduation ceremony before, but I was like, "I do. I wanna walk." I'm like, "I didn't even walk when I graduated university. I wanna do this." And it was a proud moment for me because that's my son standing next to me. And so, he was kind of like along with me on this journey the whole way, sacrificing time on the weekends for homework, watching me come home dead tired at the end of the day, seeing me like learn like new things and being brave for doing something new, and he was just there like cheering me on the whole time, and so it was very sweet to see him cheer me on as I walked across the stage too. Oh, and maybe I'll just say quick too, on the left-hand side is me holding a cake that my neighbors baked for me after I graduated. So I had a lot of people on my side, like, cheering me on, so it was super cool. Okay, we can go to the next one. This is me teaching at the Midwest Renewable Energy Association. So again, because of getting my NABCEP certification and for completing my apprenticeship program and becoming a journeyman, an opportunity was offered to me to become an instructor with the MREA. And I had taken classes from them to help me achieve that NABCEP cert. And so it was really kind of a special honor for them to turn around and ask me if I would be able to be an instructor. So I've been doing that for 3 years, and I taught the PVA, like the classes to get to the associate certification. And so those were like, that's like a week long set of classes. And at the end of the week, after you take, 4 classes basically back to back in person, then you can sit for your associate certificate exam. So it's kind of like a really nice, neat package, 1 week deal. And you have a really nice chance to just get that associate certificate. I also teach a couple of higher level classes that help people obtain their board certification. So it's a roof design and installation class and a standalone battery backup class. Okay, I think we can go to the next one. Yeah, solar fun times. Um, so there like the solar industry does go up and down. Sometimes there are more opportunities, sometimes there are less opportunities, but there are always opportunities and like sometimes really random ones that are really fun. So it's like fun to get to know people sort of across the nation in this little solar family. And just to kind of see where things lead you. I think Kelly Larson is on this call and Carol Weiss, and I have a picture here of the time when I was at SEI in Colorado in Paonia. That was a really fun time, really fun memory because that was a women's only lab week. So we went and spent time all together. I I think I'm guessing it was maybe about 50 women. Kelly, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. But it was right around there, and we made really strong bonds that week. We had so much fun. We learned so much. There was like tons of hands-on learning, and like Kelly taught us in like an outdoor classroom on a whiteboard by a ground mount, like all of these like complex equations that you have to solve during your NABCEP PBIP test. So it was just like really nice to like be surrounded by like all of these women in sort of like a really equitable space and a beautiful space in the mountains, really fun. Um, I also like the photo in the top right, like that was a photo from an interview that I had. People like there's lots of opportunities for like interviews or advocacy for women in the trades. I know Riley does that a lot too. Um, and I'm always happy to stand up and talk about that because, there are not there are not many women out there, and I would love to have, more diversity in the trades. Um, yeah, and then then there's me with that, director's, cut. I was in a commercial for Werner Ladders. This is all just to illustrate, like, you just never know what's gonna happen, and it's, like, fun in solar to have these random opportunities come your way, and then you just say yes and see what happens. So that commercial for Warner Ladders ended up being aired for like um the women's basketball, March Madness basketball last year on national television. So it was like super cute and sweet. But yeah, like solar's hard work and electrical is hard work and it's like serious and grueling, but it can be fun too, and don't forget that. Don't forget that part. And then do I have any more slides, Riley, or is that about it?
I think that was it.
That was it. Okay. Did I forget anything that we were gonna be talking about? Any points I need to
I don't think so. No, I thought
Good.
that was
Okay.
great to hear
Yeah.
your journey a little bit.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
maybe one thing you could touch on is your sense of having both an ABCEP and your electrical. I think you talked about it a little bit, but maybe again, remind us why you feel like both were valuable for you.
Yeah. Oh, well, both are valuable because they fill similar but different roles because the NABCEP is more solar specific, whereas the electrical license is just electrical at large. So like if you are not working in the solar industry, NABCEP probably you really don't need to do that. It's not really applicable. But if you are working in the solar industry, it's widely recognized um, as a desirable certificate to have just to show that you know your stuff, basically. But what I do wanna say also about that is that I did my NABCEP and my apprenticeship at the same time, which was very cost effective. Because you can double dip, for the credits that you need for, your educational credits that you need for your apprenticeship and for NABCEP sort of simultaneously. So that's just kinda like my insider's tip for that one.
Although having to study for both tests sounds a little hard at the same time.
I Yeah, well, yes, that there is that part of it, is that it's a little bit strenuous because I did do apprenticeship, associates, and PVIP all in that span of time, and drone pilots, and, all the other stuff too. So it was, a little bit of like nose to the grindstone, but, if you're trying to consolidate your time and effort, that would be a way a way to do it. And then, you know, right now I'm in sort of a career transition and looking for a new opportunity. And even right now, in the midst of looking for an opportunity, it's helpful again to have all of these licenses and certifications because I can put that, on my resume, and it's a great marker for people to see, sort of, uh, you know, instantly that I have like a devotion to the industry and to my education and knowledge and professionalism. So I feel like I can see it even right now in this moment, like helping me kind of all over again.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. And on top of having those things on a piece of paper, you also just have a lot of skill that now you can sort of back up with
Yeah.
those pieces of paper. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, thanks, Jenny. Appreciate your story and joining us today. One of the things Solar for Women is trying to do is bring the voices of tradeswomen, more to the forefront so people can hear more directly from those of us out there doing the work. And Jenny's one of them. And I'm glad I found her years ago as sort of someone in an affinity group, basically. So thanks for being part of this.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah, it's been so amazing to have your support and the support of this super cool crew of women that you have brought together. So thank you, Riley.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. All right, and on to another amazing woman who has done time in the field as well. Brittany Heller from Heat Spring is going to be up next.
Yeah, folks, thanks so much. I'm going to bring it home with talking about maybe a little bit more of like the nitty gritty of some of these different credentials. So if you could go on to the next slide, Riley. Um, as Riley already mentioned, I work for HeatSpring these days, and I talk about credentials and certifications like day in and day out. That's a big part of our courses at HeatSpring. And I just really do truly believe in the value of credentials and certifications. So I just really like to talk about them and help people find their way to get them. So we can go on to the next one. I know that both Amanda and Jenny just talked about how important electrical licensure is, but if you are working in the field, I have to also urge you to always be looking for work opportunities that help you accrue those hours toward your licensure. There's different ways to go about it. You could do it through a union route. So you could look up your local IBEW. You could go the non-union route where maybe you get hired at a solar company and they put you in solar or electrical classes and help you do an apprenticeship that's in-house. But it takes 4 to 5 years to get your journey person license. So if you're in the field, cannot stress this enough how important it is to be accruing those hours under a master electrician. That's how a lot of states operate, but it can vary depending on the state. But looking at these stats from the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, they say that in the next, I guess, 8-ish years now, they expect electrician job growth to increase by 9%. And the national average of just any job is 3%. So there is so much job security in this. And you just have a ton of earning potential. So again, can't stress that enough. Electrical licensure. Go ahead and switch to the next one, please. And so now I want to take a couple minutes to talk about NABCEP. Probably most folks are really familiar with NABCEP, but if you're one of the newer folks to the industry or maybe a career changer, this is the solar certification body for us in our industry. And they also do some energy storage as well. So if we can go to the next slide. I created this little mind map here because sometimes you hear all these different NABCEP credentials and certifications, and it's like, it's so much. It's hard to know what the difference is between all of them. So if you look at the top tier there, that is the entry level credentials. So it used to just be the PV associate. And now they are just recently, like within the week, added the O&M associate technician credential. Raise the roof, Amanda. Oh yeah. Been working on that one. And so these are entry level. So they're a lot easier, relatively easier than the board certifications to get. Both of those require either 6 months within a solar job, or that you take a approved official NABCEP associate prep course. And those are $150 to sit for the exam. Once you go down in that chart, you're looking at all the different board certifications. And that next tier are kind of like the almost a little bit more challenging certifications to sit for because they have longer training requirements, and they tend to be a little more comprehensive exams. The PVIP, or PV Installation Professional exam, is really known as the gold standard. It's the one Jenny was just talking about having, and it really encompasses everything you might do as an installer. That next tier has these different specialist certifications, and those are just different subsets, but all of that is covered on that PVIP exam. And so lots of different options. If anybody ever wants to nerd out about different NABCEP certifications, I can hang with you all day. I'll put, once I stop chatting, because I can't talk and do anything at the same time, I host a monthly Q&A session that people can just drop into and ask me whatever they want about certifications. So if we could go to, oh, one other thing is I just wanted to bring up too about these certifications before we move on, that I just thought was interesting is I always like to check on the NABCEP professional directory to see how many folks have each of these credentials. So the PVA, when I looked April 1st, had almost 4,100 folks with that credential. And the PVIP has about 1,900. And those are definitely the two highest ones. So if you have one of those credentials or certifications, good job. Yeah, we can bop on to the next. So when it comes to finding training to get your NABCEP, first of all, NABCEP has this awesome course catalog that includes everybody who has been approved to teach NABCEP prep courses. So you can go to that link or search NABCEP course catalog. That being said, a couple of my favorite training providers are, of course, HeatSpring. That's where I work. We have free courses, paid courses, tons of stuff on all different topics. But there's also a couple other great ones I want to touch on. MREA. I haven't personally taken classes at the Midwest Renewable Energy Association, but I do know a couple really awesome instructors. Shout out Jenny. Shout out some other folks. So I feel like wholeheartedly great about vouching for them. And Solar Energy International, or SEI. Also, I've taken tons of classes there. Can't recommend them enough. And if you want to get on a lab course, don't miss going to Paonia, because that is incredible. Also went to a class taught by Kelly and Carol, who are on the call, and it was great. So check out those providers or the catalog if you're looking for training for you. And go to the next one. We're getting really close to the end here of time, so I'm going to blaze through this very quickly. But there's a lot of other credentials out there that I think add a lot of value, and we've talked about some of these throughout the day. Safety certifications, add those to your resume. Your OSHA 10s, your OSHA 30s, your CPR first aid, your forklift, all that is really important. But a couple adjacent certifications or credentials I also wanted to mention is something like BPI. That is building performance. So if you're working in residential, home energy sales, it's kind of shifting from just solar to a little bit more whole home energy. That's a really great credential certification body. They have lots of credentials to look at. Jenny mentioned having her drone pilot, remote pilot certificate. That's a great one because that allows you to do infrared imaging. You could do marketing shots. You could do site surveys. There's a lot of added benefit that you can do if you have that. Another safety certification is the NFPA Certified Electrical Safety Technician. That is a whole certification about the NFPA 70E, which is electrical safety in the workplace. And yeah, so there's all sorts of different credentials out there that can help boost your resume. And if you're working, kind of depending on what subset you're working in within solar, some of these things can be really complementary and really good. And then the last slide, if you don't mind switching me on over. If you are out here looking for a job, ask companies if they have an apprenticeship program, or maybe they have formal professional development programs where they allot a certain amount of money towards, whatever development that you and your manager see fit. Or maybe they do support for certain credentials. At Heat Spring, we work with a lot of companies that you get your PBA, you get a $2 pay bump, you get a board certification, it's even more. So it's good to kind of ask about that and how they incentivize it. I think it's really good to know any company where you might be going to work, what's their philosophy on developing their workforce. It's really important that they have avenues for you to grow and advance your career while you're there. And we can stop here. That's what I had.
All right. Thank you, Brad. That was great. Also, getting into the details a lot more and explaining that I think helps clarify a lot of things. I wish I had this presentation like 5 years ago. It would have helped a lot in my journey. So I'm grateful that you all have all this knowledge and we can share it. We are running out of time here, but I would love to have Natalie maybe jump in if you all have received some questions in the chat and have a couple we could throw out there before we kind of transition to the happy hour. There's some options there.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions for the chat, go ahead, or for the group, go ahead and drop them in the chat here, and we'll be happy to address them.
If while we're waiting to see if anyone pops anything in there, I'll ask something. So for folks that are maybe not actually getting into the trades, but maybe are looking more at design or project management, what do you all think about that for the speakers? Do you see a lot of opportunity there or suggestions there too? Because I see there being some crossover with the trades there or as part of a path people might be on, but also a lot of folks that are just more interested in those career paths directly too.
Britt, you want to take that one?
Yeah. So, Riley, you were just asking about the PMP specifically certification.
Or if you know sort of, yeah, what do people do who are trying to get more into design and or project management as more of their pathway?
Yeah. I will always tell everyone this that if you are interested in either of those jobs, it is so useful if you had spent some time in the trades. It's not required, but having been in the field and done a lot of the work yourself gives you such a great disposition to be able to do design work and really understand what folks are doing out on site. So that would probably be my first recommendation. If that's your end goal, getting in the field to start is like a really killer way to do it. Um, but it's not required. You could also, go straight into design and you can really become, an expert in the National Electrical Code. You can, understand how all the different processes work. Like it's all doable. And if that is a route you want to take, I still would recommend, getting education, getting sort of training as much as possible in whatever sort of design scale you're looking to work in. Like if you're looking at utility scale, you might actually be more of an electrical engineer. If you're looking at residential, you might be able to do more of that work by, focusing on content that's included in the NABCEP PEIP.
Mhm. Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you. Any questions in the chat, Natalie?
Yeah, we have a couple here in the chat. One is from Matthew Harris for Jenny. Just curious if you could talk more about the value of mentoring you received during your apprenticeship and what you have taken away from that, where she plays a mentor role on the job site and in the classroom. So I think just address your experience of having a mentor through your apprenticeship, and then what does that
Yeah.
mean to you today?
Yeah. I do not think the value of a mentor can be understated. It is essential. It's like vital. So I was talking a little bit about kind of finding the right fit for a mentor and then worked under a journeyman for um, maybe 2 or 3 years of my apprenticeship, Donnie. And having that relationship, like Donnie's still a great friend of mine. We still talk on the phone probably like twice a week. And like having that experience, like it's it's what made me an electrician today, basically, because it's like you can't get that knowledge anywhere else. Like with the way the trades are set up, the mentorship part is absolutely essential. The classroom part is almost more supplemental in some ways. You need it in order to understand the concept of what you are doing and to know how to apply the math and all of that. Um, but they're not going to teach you like the difference between like seal tight and greenfield in the classroom. Like they're not going to teach you like um when you should use EMT and when you should use rigid, like all of these little like code things or tricks of the trade. Like it's one thing to like read it in the code book, and it's another thing to be like on a job site in the real world, like facing these circumstances that you need to like know what you're looking at on the spot, and then be able to like recall these um lines in the code and be able to apply it like then and there. It's like to have someone like helping you see it through their trained and experienced eyes, that they were trained and experienced by someone else before them, like it's absolutely essential. Um
I
and oh,
to
go ahead.
sec I was gonna say to kind of just I have 2.5 questions or 1.5 questions really. So to add on to that, I think there's curiosity around, do these companies offer those mentorships or is that something you seek out on your own?
Well, that is a really great question because it's half and half. Um, yes, the company has journeymen that you learn under. And we talked about job sites being in ratio. It means that you need a certain number of journeymen and a certain number of apprentices on site. And you can't exceed an amount of apprentices per journeyman because otherwise you're basically like spreading the journeyman too thin for the amount of people that they need to like be guiding and watching over. So yes, the company does provide that part of it. However, um, it it's also important to find, and this is something you have to find on your own, like someone that you work well with, because you are going to be able to like learn a lot more and have a lot more experiences if you have someone that feels more like a natural fit. It just allows more opportunities to be opened up for you because um, it's not exactly like it's not exactly like everything is divvied up equally all the time amongst people. There is a certain element of like if you're a journeyman on site, you have a choice of who you want to choose to help you with projects. And so being able to like be a good worker, a willing worker, and find someone that you like work well with that can only serve to benefit you. So it's a little bit of both.
Okay. Thank you. That was a great response. Riley, do we have time? There's one more question and then I see a hand raised, but I wanted to time check first.
Yeah, we're gonna have to wrap it up just because we're over time by a lot right now, and I want to make sure we get a chance to try out the happy hour. So I want to encourage folks that are, yeah, have some burning questions that you stick around for a few more minutes, and then we'll come together for the happy hour and try to kind of get some opportunities to talk there. So
Can I give one quick answer to Bay's question? Is it ever too late to start a specific training course or seek licensure? No, do it anytime. I started at 35.
yeah, I started
I
pretty
just wanted
late.
to quick squeeze that in there.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I don't think it's too late. I think your body will tell you what
Yes.
you're able to do or not. Is something I would definitely argue is makes things in the trades a little bit harder as you get older, but there's ways you can find the right fit for yourself usually. So okay, I'm gonna wrap it up here. Thanks to Amanda Jenny and Brittany for all their great knowledge. So lots of applause and silent applause and things from everyone who's out there on mute, I'm sure. And now we can get a chance to meet some of you in person that stick around. So if you want to grab a beverage and come back, or if you feel like you need to go because it's the hour that you set aside, we just want to leave a couple minutes for people to head out if they need to. But otherwise, stick around for the happy hour, grab a beverage, and come back in just a couple minutes, and we'll either stay together if the group's not too big, or we'll split into some breakout rooms based on who's here. So thanks again, everyone, for coming. And please fill in the feedback form. It really helps us a lot. And consider following us on all the platforms and donating a few bucks if you can. And we're happy that you're here. So hopefully I'll get to chat with more of you here in just a minute.